Optiques, a colorful new addition to the Hermes eyeshadow family. You guys know I'm a huge fan of these palettes, and in this video today, I'm going to be walking you through all the shades in this palette, the formulation, my thoughts on the quality. Is this worth the hefty luxury Hermes price tag? Don't worry, we're going to be getting into all of that today. I'm also going to show you a couple of different ways that you can use this palette, different looks, whether you want something soft for every day or maybe something a little bit more dramatic and glamorous like the look that I'm wearing right now. I'm going to be giving you some ideas, some inspiration on how to use this palette, whether you've bought this one or maybe you have these colors already in your collection. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna jump right in. Let's kick things off with some natural light close-ups and swatches of this beautiful palette from Hermes Beauty. Taking a look at the shades here, we have a shimmering, almost iridescent, deep purple. Then we have a metallic light gold as like a highlight shade. Then there is a satin dusty denim blue is what I'm calling it. And then finally, we have a bright matte teal shade. Now, it doesn't say so on the box, but I'm fairly certain that this palette is a limited edition for fall 2025. This is a part of a full fall collection for Hermes Beauty that also has lipsticks, nail polishes. I'm not going to be covering those in this review, but there are more products to this collection. So just want to point that out. I don't think this is going to be around forever. It is a seasonal release. In terms of the specs, the packaging, it's all the same as the palettes from the main line. I'll show you right here some clips of the packaging. You got, the white circular shape with the little Hermes emblem right there on the bottom. You get the little dust bag, the orange box. There's also a teeny little Hermes brush that comes in the dust bag. Make sure you check for that because it's small and it's easy to miss, but don't sleep on the little mini Hermes brush because it's actually really good for the lower lash line and like inner corner highlight and all that stuff. And it's an expensive palette, so you should enjoy your little mini Hermes brush. This also has a 12-month shelf life. It's made in France. There's no fragrance. And two of the shades, the deeper two shades, do have talc. So I just like to point that out also. Now, before we get into the demos, I do want to take a quick second to give you kind of like a little mini tour of this palette, not just the colors, but the actual formulas of each of the shades because they're each different. And because of that, I use different brushes and different techniques to apply the shades, and I use them in different ways. And I think the demos will make a little bit more sense once I explain this. First up, we have the deep purple shade. I really like the fact that this purple isn't too red. It's very easy to work with and looks like a really true like eggplant purple color on the lid. This is going to be, it's not a super bright metallic, but it does have a little bit of like an iridescent finish. The formula of this shade is also a little bit creamy, so I would recommend using a synthetic brush to apply this shade. Then we have the soft yellow gold. This is going to be the creamiest shade in the palette. It's also going to be the most metallic. These shades in the Hermes eyeshadow palettes, they give beautiful shine and illumination to the lid. This is going to be your highlight shade. Think inner corner highlight, think center of the lid. You could also use this as a one and done if you like very shimmery, bright looks. This is going to be the shade that really opens up the eye and brightens up any look that you're doing so that it doesn't look too heavy. Because I know with these deeper and more colorful shades, that can kind of be a risk and maybe a concern to some of my subscribers out there. So I'm just pointing this out. This yellow shade is your friend and it's not too warm. It's a beautiful, bright, very pale gold, which I think is beautiful. Then we have the dusty denim blue. This is going to be a satin formulation. Now, what you'll notice is that this color does not swatch very well. It is a little bit harder pressed in the pan, so I also would recommend using a synthetic brush for this as well, or like a sable hair brush, for example. I didn't have any issues actually applying it to the lid. It applies way more pigmented to the lid, which you're gonna see in a second, but this is gonna be kind of like the softest shade in the palette that you could put all over the lid as like a one and done. It's not very shimmery, it's not sparkly, it's just like a soft satin. And then finally, we have the teal. This is like a true matte. This one is very pigmented. It's the most powdery one in the palette. If you have natural hair brushes that you like to use, this one you can definitely use with those. But the other three shades, I definitely recommend something that is synthetic or sable hair because it's really gonna help you pick up the pigment and lay it down on the eye for more control. And by the way, I will link down below in the description box a couple of brush recommendations for this formula. Any of the ones that I use in these demos, I'll list them down in the description box just in case you're curious. Okay, let's get into the looks that I created with this palette. I technically have 4 looks in one, but I'm gonna show you how you can build the look and kind of add on so that you can kind of go from the most subtle to the most glamorous, which is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. So starting off with a very soft look, this is something that I would wear, you know, like during the day, if I only have a couple of minutes to get ready. What I first did is I went into that dusty denim blue shade and I applied this all over the lid. I think you can tell here from the demo that when you apply this with a brush as opposed to the swatch, it looks way more pigmented. I really had no issue applying this to the eye, but it's a little hard to pick up with the finger. And then just to brighten everything up, you guessed it, I went in with the pale gold. Applying this lightly to the center of the eye, oh, so beautiful. I love the contrast between the yellow and the blue. You get that contrast, but because they're very soft, kind of desaturated colors, it's a lot lighter. It is, you know, softer, elegant, ethereal. You can also apply that pale gold to the inner corner for a little bit of extra brightness there. And then this is the soft look for daytime. So this look would literally take me maybe 2 minutes to do. Very, very easy if you are in a rush. Next, you're gonna see me layer in the deeper shades in the palette, starting off with that plum purple. I'm gonna use this to add a bit more contour to the eye. So I'm just taking a small brush. Again, I'll link this brush down below. Love this one if I'm trying to just use kind of like a lighter touch if I don't wanna overdo it. And I gently contour around the perimeter of the eye socket, just adding in a little bit more dimension. And I wanna show you right there just the difference between adding that little bit of contour to the eye and then the look that we just did before with just the 2 shades. While the first look was beautiful and I absolutely love it, going in with that extra shade just kind of elevates the look, makes it look a little bit, you know, more sultry and sculpted. So that's another option for you as well. The next thing that you can do is that you can use one of the deeper shades as a liner. So in this case, I went into the teal shade, which Hermes calls the surprise shade, which I think is kind of funny. There's always like one pop of color or deeper color that they call the surprise shade in the palette. So I like to often use the surprise shade in like the outer corner as a pop of color, or in this case, I used it as a liner. You could use the purple one as a liner. You could not do the contour step that we just did before this one, and you could just add in one of the shades as a liner. So you have these options. I just want to show you how you can apply these shades and kind of layer them together in different ways to get different looks. And so there you can see the before and after of adding the liner and not adding the liner. Just kind of adds a little pop of color, but I think using it as a liner makes it a bit more understated and maybe more wearable for those of you who don't want to wear like a bright teal all over the eye. Comment down below and let me know, what do you think of these looks? Which version of this look would you personally wear? Would you dip into the brighter shades? Do you feel like these techniques are wearable when it comes to the brighter shades? I would love to hear your feedback. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to be enjoying this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really helps me out. And if you are new here, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Sophia and I upload new videos just like this every single week, all about everyday beauty and accessible luxury style. I film all of my beauty videos in natural light with no filters. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button to join our fam. We seriously would love to have you. I also have a membership for extra perks, exclusive live streams, videos, giveaways, and an amazing community over on our Discord server. So I put the link to join right down below if you want to check that out. And as a reminder, I will have a shopping guide for this palette and links to all the makeup that is on my face today down in that description box down below, because this will be available at more retailers very soon. Next up, I'm going to show you how I got the look that I'm wearing on my eyes today, which is using very similar techniques, but I did build up the brighter shades to get more of like a dramatic effect, so to speak. I started off this look once again with the dusty denim blue by applying that all over the lid as kind of like a base shade. I really think that this shade is the best base shade to start off with in this palette, whether it be all over the lid or maybe as like a transition shade in the crease, because it's really the only like mid-tone shade that you have in the palette, and it's also not super metallic. Next, I went in with the pale gold. However, I did do a different placement this time with the pale gold. I concentrated it more so on the inner half of the eye, starting off with the inner corner and then blending it inwards. This is a really good placement if you want to very much open up the eye, if maybe your eyes are like a little bit more hooded and you want to create kind of like more openness, more brightness to a look, especially if you're going to be layering in some darker shades. This is a technique that I highly recommend. Next, I went into the amethyst shade, and you'll notice I'm using a bit of a heavier hand this time as I'm applying it to the crease, just really sculpting out the shape of the eye. I love the depth that this color gives, but once again, the beautiful iridescence that you get from the finish. Next, I really wanted to build up the teal shade on the outer corner, and I don't want the teal shadow to cover up what I did with the amethyst. You really want to try and color block the shadows, because once you start blending these shadows together, it could get a little bit muddy. So you want to be very specific about your placement if you're going to be using all four of them in one look. I really tried to pack this color onto the outer corner of the eye, and I will say it has really beautiful pigmentation. I like the fact that I can really see the true color. Then I went back in with the dusty blue and I applied that to the lower lash line. I decided I wanted to use that medium shade instead of one of the bright ones for the lower lash line, because I feel like it keeps the look from being too heavy. If you are worried about that, I would recommend going in with like the medium shade or the gold on the lower lash line. So it really just kind of like keeps everything light underneath, and then you get more of that lifted effect by applying the deeper shades to the outer corner. Hopefully this is making sense. And then finally, because I just wanted this look to be even more glamorous, I went in with a black eyeliner. So I feel like this just kind of elevates the look, makes it a bit more smoky, and also kind of ties in those more vibrant shades. And then along with the black mascara, this is the final look. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if these tips are helpful. That's how I like to layer the shadows together. I think that these layer together exceptionally well. I think the key here is just understanding each of the colors' placement and also the formulation of each shadow. I think that's where some people kind of get stuck with these palettes, because it's not like a Tom Ford palette where like all of the shades are the same, like wet dry formula, for example. You have different formulations in here, which I really like. I think it makes the palette special, more versatile, but I don't think you can use just like the one little Hermes brush that it comes with to create a single look. I think they each need to be treated a little bit differently. So what do I think of this palette? Is it worth the very hefty Hermes luxury price tag? Overall, as far as luxury eyeshadow palettes go, I really like this one. I think the color story is colorful, but I think still very wearable, very sophisticated, very elegant. I think it's different. It's different from the other palettes that I'm seeing this season. I'm seeing a lot of like olive greens and browns, and I really like that they went for it with something, I don't know, maybe like a little bit more whimsical. And I think that this is fall themed enough for me. I think it's beautiful. I think the formula is good. I personally like the fact that you get different finishes, different formulas within one palette, because it gives me more versatility. And if I'm going to spend over $100 on a palette, then I do want to be able to create different looks. So that's why I showed you some tips in this video today. Is this incredibly overpriced because it's Hermes? Yeah, of course. Of course you're paying for the Hermes name, the orange box, the little dust bag, the minuscule little brush. But do I like this palette? Yes, I very much do. Do I think it lives up to the quality that I would expect from Hermes? Yes, I do. So it's really up to you to decide, would you use this palette? Is it a special collector's item for you? Is it within your budget? I can't answer those questions for you. All I can say is that I like this palette a lot more than I thought I would. When I first saw the color story, I was like, I don't know, it's gonna depend on like the finishes and how the shadows apply. And I actually really, really like it. I haven't tried a single Hermes palette that I haven't liked, but this is definitely, I think, one of the most unique. And I like when they do that for seasonal releases. I did try and think if there was anything like this similar in my collection. This does kind of give me Byredo Mineralscapes vibes. If you're not familiar with this palette was so popular last year. It was limited edition. So if you're interested in it, don't get your hopes up. You cannot find this palette anymore. This kind of reminds me of like a mini Mineralscapes, except you don't really have that amethyst color. But hey, if you have another purple palette lying around and you have the Byredo Mineralscapes palette, you could probably dupe all of the looks that I did today. Or maybe you missed out on Mineralscapes, or you're not somebody that likes palettes that big. I think you can get a little taste of the Mineralscapes palette with this one from Hermes, and even better if you've purchased one of the, multiple olive green palettes that have popped up this season and you combine that palette with this one. Those are gonna be great companion palettes if you want that kind of Mineralscapes, cool tone, earthy, vibe that palette gave that so many people were attracted to. I've also been asked about the Viseart Paris Etoile palette. I reviewed this palette years ago when I first started my channel. It is absolutely gorgeous, and they have said that they're going to be restocking this, which is amazing. I think a lot of people are looking at this palette because this does have like a deep, rich navy blue and a purple. It doesn't lean as teal, and it doesn't have the gold shade, but perhaps you like these tones a little bit better, so you can kind of get a similar sultry look with that one. But to me, they're still kind of different. But I just wanted to call out those two palettes. Those are the ones that really popped into my head when I was playing around with this new one from Hermes. But help me out, friends. Comment down below and let me know, can you think of any other palettes that are very similar to this very expensive one from Hermes? Let me know what you thought of the looks that I created today. This format, was this helpful? Did this inspire you, hopefully, to maybe shop your stash or create more looks with this palette? I would love to hear your feedback. If you like this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe, or better yet, go watch another video. Up next, I have my 5 best and 5 worst products from Chanel Beauty. I'll see you there.